The Canadian government is mandating noisemakers on electric vehicles to prevent people from being run over in crosswalks. I guess the good news is that all of these electric vehicles versus pedestrian accidents can probably only happen in the summertime. As part of Canada's push for net zero by 2050, all new consumer vehicle sales by 2035 have to be net zero or electric of some kind, which is going to have horrific unintended consequences for Canadians, as much of this beautiful country is horribly cold for about 6+ months a year. And electric vehicles, well, they just don't work all that well under those extreme conditions. There's that, and much like Sweden, our power grid is not at all equipped to support a nation of nearly 40 million people moving to entirely electric vehicles nearly overnight. Now, I saw this crazy story first reported in Blacklocks this morning, and I got to tell you, to be honest, it made my day a little bit. Because as it turns out, not only are fossil-fueled vehicles reliable, readily available, and work even in the most extreme -40 conditions like we have here in Alberta during the winter, and that fossil fuel extraction provides great, well-paying jobs for Canadians, as opposed to, the cobalt mining required for electric vehicle batteries and all the slavery of little children involved in that. But as it turns out, electric vehicles are just plain old safer for pedestrians. Look at this. It's gold. Cabinet issued an executive order stating it amended the motor vehicle safety regulations on minimum sound requirements for hybrid and electric vehicles. 22 pedestrians were killed and another 1,514 others were injured after being run over by electrics in the period between 2013 and 2017, according to the Department of Transport. The department suggested electrics carry noisemakers or synthetic sound generators that emulate the sound of typical internal combustion engine vehicles. Pedestrians were 20% more likely to be run over by an electric car than a gas or diesel burner, said the department. Bicyclists were 50% more likely to be hit by an electric. Yikes. I guess in the war for green transportation, cyclists might be the biggest casualties here. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't like the idea of anybody getting run over for any reason, but I do think it's kind of cute that Canada is now forcing electric vehicle manufacturers to make all of their new vehicles sound like they're rolling coal. Now, I'm reliably informed that progressives in Canada's big cities hate noise. According to a whole host of crybabies living in downtown Ottawa, they're still suffering from honk-related injuries because of a few days of errant honking from the trucker-led Freedom Convoy protests way back in January and February.
Ms. DeLaronde, you told us a bit about the honking and how you experienced that. After the protests were over, what was your experiences with honking sounds?
Anytime I heard a honk of a horn, and particularly of a large vehicle horn, I could feel it sort of ripple through my body, and I would feel that my nerves were still frayed.
In the immediate days and weeks after the end of the demonstrations, what was your experiences with horns?
Very much like that I kept hearing them like phantom horns. I kept hearing them in my head. I also had phantom smells too.
And by phantom smells or horns, I mean they're not there, but that's what you're
They're not there.
And many big cities are currently banning gas-powered leaf blowers and lawnmowers because city dwellers, well, they suffer from noise pollution. So what a happy little irony for somebody like me that these fancy virtue signaling green vehicles now have to sound like my old rough running farm truck to save pedestrian lives. The good news in all of this is that until the new regulations kick in Canada, you only have to worry from about May till October about the scourge of being run over by an electric car, because from November till April, those things don't work all that well here.
Elon Musk failed Tesla owners. The door won't open and I'm stuck outside in the cold. I tried everything and nothing worked.
Today I'm going to tell you why driving an electric car when it's really cold outside isn't such a hot idea. Realizing cold weather the batteries lose a lot of their charge, and when you have to recharge them, they will not recharge fully either. And realize with a gasoline car, you can heat yourself inside if your house doesn't have heat. And it can go on for days that way. If you start with a full tank of gas, this baby can idle for 3 days and give you heat. Try that with an electric car. And if it runs low on gas, big deal. Go to the gas station, fill it up 5 minutes later. Because really, batteries don't like cold weather. A gasoline engine doesn't care.
For Rebel News, I'm Sheila Gunn Reid. To push back against the expensive, job-killing, society-damaging green reset of our economy and the way we live, please head on over to nogreenreset.com and sign the petition.